But I think this is not the only healing experience, no? Miraculous healing experience. There was one more time when you had your shoulder dislocated or something. No?
Yes. There was another thing that happened back in 2006. I think I did all my medical examination, and I've somehow been very unique in all my experiences with Gurudev. In 2006, both of my shoulders, or at least the right side at that time, was diagnosed as avascular necrosis. So my humeral head, which is the round ball that is under your shoulder, actually the bone died there for some reasons, and there was no blood supply going up to the top of the bone, so the bone became weak and was starting to collapse. And the doctor said, no, you need to have a surgery. There's a CT scan that shows that the bone is weak and it needs to be taken out and replaced with an artificial grafting or a metal bone. And I took that, and then I had a 3 months waiting period for the surgery. So in the meantime, I went to India from Scotland. I went to India, I met Gurudev. I said, Gurudev, I need your blessings. I have a shoulder surgery in 2 months. And he just grabbed my shoulder like this and shook it. And he said, क्या हो गया? कुछ तो नहीं हुआ है. क्यों सर्जरी करना है? जाके चेकअप करवाओ. So I'll repeat that in English. He said, why? He just shook my shoulders, grabbed it and shook it. He said, why do you want to do a shoulder surgery? Everything is fine. Go do a proper test. I said, okay, that's okay. I have a previous experience, so I'm not going to doubt you. I'm going to go check again. So I came back, and pre-surgery again, I went back and I said to my orthopedician, I said, doctor, do you mind giving another test? Because 2 months have passed now, and I really want to do another test before we do open up my shoulder and repair my bone. And we did another CT scan, and somehow the veins had found its way back into the top of the bone. And the doc said, well, it don't make sense, but somehow the veins have found their way back and the blood supply is improving. So I think we should wait and watch. Don't do it. I came away from that surgery because Gurudev asked me to go test it. So it's been quite interesting. I've been consistently doing medical miracles in many ways. So there's another quite a unique experience.
So Dushyant Bhaiya, coming back to your business again, is there any guidance you got from Gurudev about how you should manage your business and art of living life? Because I think, are you still full-time teacher? I'm
not a full-time teacher anymore, but I'm full-time to Gurudev. So
no, and that's what I'm not saying on record, on role or so. I'm saying, are you still totally into teaching more, or the business is taking more time, and how do you manage both?
No, the business is certainly taking a lot more time. I have to be sincere in what I'm saying. The business is certainly taking more time, and I had this conflict, back in 2017. I think Gurudev was in US, in Miami, and I went to see him, and I spent a couple of days, and I had my time, and I showed him the platform I've built with Amber Connect and how this is growing, and I showed him the vehicle tracking application and the fleet management, and he said, हाँ ये तो इतना इंडिया में भी इसकी इतनी जरूरत है, it's such a good line, तुमको तो ये तो बहुत आगे बढ़ेगा. And he looked at the entire application, tried to understand the use cases, and gave me some guidance what to do with it, where to go. It's very interesting how he kind of could pick up every aspect of the business, which took me 2 years to understand and build. And then at one point I asked him, because it was a conflict in my heart, that I always wanted to remain a full-time teacher. In fact, until 2015, even in the Caribbean, I used to wear dhoti, kurta, angavastram and chandan. And I used to walk around with long hair and white robes throughout the Caribbean. The entire 3-4 years, I've always been in white robes, going around teaching and assisting the governments to reduce crime in all these countries, and doing a lot of government strategic government driven social intervention programs. But I always wore white robes and stuff like that, except when I go to the prison and stuff. It's too hot, so I used to wear jeans and t-shirt, and just for the ambience also to be a little more neutral. But suddenly turning into a businessman and trying to do business, my left brain is saying business, business, business. The right brain is saying seva, seva, seva. How do you meditate business? Part of your brain needs to think and act fast and think numbers and profits, and another part of it is saying you're here to do seva, you're here to teach, you're here to wake people up in knowledge, and your life is for Gurudev. It's a big conflict in my head. And I met Gurudev in Miami, and I asked him, Gurudev, it's a big conflict. What is my role? Am I a full-time teacher? Am I a businessman? What is my purpose? What should I do going forward? I feel conflicted of what my role is right now. And he looks at me and he goes, go make wealth. Three words, go make wealth. And that moment when I looked into his eyes, I knew what I have to do. And from that day, in 3 years now, Amber Group is 1,000 times of its original size at that time. 7 business lines, including aviation. What we've done is unthinkable. And I think it was clear when he said that go make wealth, because now, can you imagine when the pandemic hit, we've spent over $1 million US building phenomenal software for the governments to now manage the pandemic, and we donated it free of cost from the Amber Group and the Art of Living Foundation to make the government or enable the government manage the pandemic extremely well. So we built the entire immigration system for the government. So you need to apply for a health e-visa before you come to the country. You get approved. You upload your PCR test before boarding the plane, and then the entire quarantine tracking. If you leave your house within 30 minutes, within 30 seconds, if you leave your house from your quarantine location, we alert the police force in real time that this person has left their quarantine location. And the Prime Minister of Jamaica on 3 occasions now have thanked us for our contribution for helping Jamaica fight the pandemic with a technology forefront. And now the same pandemic management software solution is now helping 7 other countries in the region as well. So I think he defined very clearly what my role is. I'm still teaching. I teach at least once every two months. But now the company has grown enough, because bear in mind, Digvijay, I had to do a lot of things myself. But now I have a massive C-suite, which means I've got very senior executives, got a managing director, CFO, CCOs, a big C-suite team. So they are now running the business, and slowly I'm kind of pulling out, and I'm still the group chairman and CEO, but I'm coming out of the CEO role slowly and passing on the reins for somebody else to run. But I'm now finding more time to spend on Art of Living. So I've set up my own little marketing team from the business to dedicatedly focus on spreading Gurudev's message and set up courses for us in Jamaica and the Caribbean and so on. So I'm using the wealth that Gurudev has blessed us to create, not only to employ hundreds of people, but at the same time help nationally to the governments through our contribution. and making impact to millions through this wealth that is only happening because of his grace and because of his three words: go make wealth. So I believe all the wealth that the Amber Group is making, this rapid speed that we are climbing, it's because of his direction, his grace, and we stand ready as a group to serve nations, not just handful of people, but now we are serving through governments and impacting nations. So yes, it is Gurudev's inspiration, leadership, and message, all the three that has acted for us to become who we have become in such a short space of time. It's a story. It's perhaps the biggest business guru story, I think, in my mind.
No, very true, Dushyant. I think this is the model which you have created for sustainable long-term Seva support system.
Correct.
So this is so many of our viewers, they are doing business, they are in job. Like a few days back, I got a call that I'm in corporate and I don't get time to do Seva. So I asked her that maybe you can facilitate CSR from your organization, and she has facilitated the entire tree plantation and creating a horticulture model in one of our ashrams. So she could facilitate it that way. So wherever you are and however you can create a model, but yours is something which is very much inspiring to many of us who are watching this. Dushyant Bhaiya, I mean, you mentioned about so many interactions with Gurudev, and that private meeting time with Gurudev is always precious. So how would you like to share something about it? You have so many of them.
You know why I'm laughing? Because the first half of my life with him, literally up to 4 or 5 years ago, every private meeting was, it was like, those passionate meetings with good. Look, I'm not ashamed to say this publicly ever. Being an Art of Living teacher did not mean I was perfect. I have made catastrophically sized mistakes in my life. I will share with you one example, because I don't want to just share the good stuff and goody stuff, because you'll hear this from everybody. I want to show you how Master, through his anger sometimes, through his indifference with you sometimes, and through direct charge on you, also lifts you up. Right? So I'll give you one good experience. When you say good, when you hear this, you will know that I was crying like a small baby. Back in 2004, when was it? 2004, I think Gurudev was coming to Scotland. And I was in charge of Scotland at that time. Me, Dushyant Savadia, the great, the best teacher with the biggest miracles and a big celebrity title in the Art of Living with huge knowledge talks. But that arrogance and that ego, I tell you, Digvijay, I could not stand myself if I can see myself now at that time. Not that I've completely gotten over my ego and arrogance. I'm still very sparky. But 2004, when he came to Scotland, perhaps it was one of the biggest historic visit that Gurudev had ever experienced until that date. 16 events in 4 days. He addressed the parliament, the prison, the school of divinity, the 36 schools. Kids came together to interact with me, and public events in Glasgow. And it was a massive event organized by one guy, which was me. And all that event management and being special and feeling special and all of that led my head to become arrogant and egoistic, and that was the peak of my ego and arrogance both. So Gurudev comes to Scotland, and third day of the visit, we are going through one meeting after another, and he's meeting the ministers and he's addressing the parliaments. And day 3, 6 a.m. in the morning, he calls me. He said, Gurudev calls me and he says, come to my room. So kind of went with a tray with his breakfast, put it down, and he walked up to the door and closed the door. When he closed the door and he turned around, I could see a different Guruji straight away. So he was serious, very firm, no smile on his face. And he goes, with so much of anger and arrogance, how can you even teach knowledge? If you have no love inside you, how are you going to spread love in this planet? You're not fit to be an art of living teacher. Go sell vegetables with a cart. That is what you're good for. And I tell you, I get shake even now when I remember that event. But while he was saying all of this, because it's a saying, no, if you want to crack a walnut, you need equal force to crack a walnut. So yes, 1999 I became a teacher, but the first 5 years of my being a teacher was flamboyance, anger, arrogance, not a great personality, but I was a very good teacher. I could teach well, I could inspire, I could lift up, but it wasn't genuine. It wasn't, when I say wasn't genuine, I'm saying it wasn't very well grounded. That's the right word to use. It wasn't very well grounded. So 2004, when he shut the room and he told me all of these things, he looks at me and he goes, and he said all of this, and I felt like I could, the earth could just split up and I get swallowed into the earth. And I fell on my knees and I started crying. And I said, Gurudev, I understand. I understand what you're saying. And then I was crying. And he says, why are you so weak? Wake up, stand up, stop crying. You've been blessed with the highest knowledge of this world, of this universe. Take that knowledge and be what you need to be. And then he's asked me to leave, wash my face, because it was time to get ready to do the rest of the event. The rest of the day, I'm like a little mouse walking around him. Anybody wanting anything? Yes, of course, immediately. That's an instant shift in my consciousness. Like I just mellowed for some reason. Something broke in me completely. And then I'm thinking, okay, if I'm not going to teach, what am I going to do now? What do I do with my life? What is my career? And I've not been in a job for very long. What will I do? This is my passion. And then rest of the day goes. And I'm kind of avoiding him, but moving with him. And then at 4 o'clock, we came out of the prison event in Edinburgh in Scotland. And he comes out and I go in the opposite direction to go to a different car, not with him. And Bharat Didi was there as well. And he says, Dushyant, yahan aao, hamari gaadi mein aao. Come with me in my car. I said, no, Gurudev, I'm okay. I'm going to go in that car. I said, no, come, sit here. So Gurudev in the front seat. There was Charlie, a very successful businessman in Edinburgh, a very good friend. He was driving Gurudev. And then I'm sitting in the middle in the back, Bhanu Didi and somebody else. So then we had made a very beautiful souvenir booklet for Gurudev. Was going through this. Are dekho kitna acha bana hai. Look how well written this is. We don't have a single booklet like this that talks about art of living and all the work we have done and such nice graphics and pictures. Dushyant, you've done so much in this visit in such a short. He started praising me, but none of that praise was helping. And then we reached home. And then he goes, takes a plate, puts food in it, brings it to me, said, come, let's eat. This is for you. And I said, Gurudev, no, aap khao, you please eat. I'll go get my. No, you eat from this. I will get another one. Then he goes get another plate. So this was in my house in Edinburgh. So every day lunch and dinner, he would come home to have lunch and dinner and breakfast. We were staying in a hotel because there was just so many people. So he came for lunch, sat down, he served me the lunch, and I ate the lunch. And after the lunch, he looks at me, he says, I love you so much, and I will take you where you need to be, but step by step. And go talk to Bhanu. And then Bhanu, they gave me a lot of clarity around, So this is how my private meetings have been. So that was one of the best private meeting that changed my life in many ways. It made me see things differently. I moved in a different track from there. And then several more meetings. But 99.99% of all my meetings, when I walk into the room, the first question he would ask is directly my current problem. So in 2004, he asked me to take a sabbatical, go take a job. I started working for a very big company, and I had a problem. So I walked into the room in 2008. I walked into the room and said, "हाँ, Dushyant, तेरा job का क्या हो रहा है? कुछ हुआ है क्या? What happened to your job? Is something happening there?" Even before I could tell him anything, every single time you meet him, I've met him, he knows exactly what is happening. He'll ask you the question to facilitate your answer. Because I'm, in my head, I'm hesitating. Should I tell him? Should I not tell him? But 99.99%, I never had to tell him my problem. He would ask what I need or what is happening. It's amazing. It's amazing how he has managed knowing before you can tell him, and especially knowing that you will hesitate to tell him. So, but lots and lots of private meetings. The meetings these days are much better by the way, because I believe, especially in the last 3-4 years, I've been a good boy. So.
Good boy. Any maybe one or two stories which you would like to share?
So, 2 more very important private meetings. You're right. So back in '99, just when I became a teacher, it was just happening just before I became a teacher, I was still in the ashram, spending a lot of time with Gurudev. So my date of birth on the passport is 17th of July 1976. My date of birth on all my school certificates, my birth certificate, everything is 17th of July 1976. So on 17th of July 1999, I'm with Gurudev in the ashram. It's my birthday, and those days you would remember we only had Sumeru Mandap. We had the Shakti Kutir. Access to him was like 100, 200 people in the ashram. And I could go to him at any time, talk to him anything. I had my doubts, a lot of doubts about the path. I'd sit and bug him all day what to do. But 17th of July 1999, I go to him and I said, "Gurudev, bless me, it's my birthday, I've come here for blessings." And you want that special attention from him on that day. And then, he'll give you a fruit and he'll give you a hug or whatever it is on that day. So I go with all these expectations that it's my time with Gurudev, it's my birthday, it's my special treat. And then satsang also, it will call me to the front and crown me and all those funny stories those days. So I go to him for blessings, and he was kind of doing something, and I said, "Gurudev, aaj mera birthday, I'm here for blessings." And he goes, "Kal aana." And I kind of looking at him, and remember, it's my early days with Gurudev, so I've not fully understood the enlightened master yet. So I'm going, "But Gurudev, today is 17th of July, it's my birthday, Gurudev, that's why I'm here." No, your birthday is tomorrow, you come tomorrow. I said, Gurudev, today is 17th. Tomorrow is 18th. Today is 17th. It's my birthday. And he goes, yes, yes, I know. But your birthday is 18th. Come tomorrow. So I was lost. I thought Guruji was up to some mischief, or I was disheartened. But because Gurudev said it's tomorrow, I went. In those days, we didn't have mobile phones, so I used a PCO and I called my house. And I called my mother, picked up the phone, and I said, Mom, I really want you to think through carefully and tell me, was I born on the 17th or on the 18th? And she goes, I know it was a Saturday for sure. And then I had that calendar those days, which we used to keep for keeping phone numbers and stuff. And I looked at that, Saturday was 18th. But then I said, Mom, do you have anything else that can confirm that it was the 18th? Is it your Janam Kundli? Because the day you were born, the Jyotish had come and they had done the horoscope for you in the hospital on the same day, few hours later. So I said, go find it, I'll hold the phone, and my PCO bill is going up. She ran, got it, came back, and on the Janam Kundli also, it was 18th of July 1976. So almost 20 years of my life, I was celebrating my birthday as 17th, and the master knows it. Think about it. If he knows the date and time you were born, how can we think he doesn't know what we are going through? How can we sit in this ignorance thinking that the Guru doesn't know what's happening to me right now? I think that experience taught me one thing. You can run, but you can't hide. So the Guru knows. He knows what is happening. He knows what you need. Sometimes he interacts. Sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he sends a message. Sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he sends a messenger, and sometimes he leaves time to be the messenger to tell you what you need to do. We just need to have the faith and know that the Guru knows, and know we are well taken care of, not just from what is happening now, from the time we were born and even before that. So I think that was quite a interesting, experience.
Very interesting. But you said two stories.
Sorry?
You mentioned two stories from the private.
Yes, another one that happened in Scotland, and this was experienced by 40 people with me. It was not just me.